The James Monroe Buckley Award is named in honor of Reverend Dr. James Monroe Buckley, an ordained Methodist minister whose tireless efforts led to the founding of our hospital. We celebrate his legacy through an annual award to a trustee who has advanced our mission. Reverend John E. Carrington, also an ordained Methodist minister, has known about and been involved with New York Methodist Hospital since his teen years, when his father was a pastor at a congregation in downtown Brooklyn. Reverend Carrington has a long commitment to service at New York Methodist Hospital, having served on the Board of Trustees since 1968 and having been its chairman since 1980. Not only has he served in that capacity, but he was instrumental in bringing Mark Monday, the Chief Executive Officer, to the hospital here. And together under Reverend Carrington's and Mr. Monday's guidance, this hospital was turned from a struggling hospital into the vibrant healthcare provider that it is today.
What a thrill it is for me to have the opportunity to say a few words about our beloved Chairman, John Carrington. Plain and simple, John has written a handbook on how to be a hospital board chairman.
Reverend Carrington has been and continues to be a model leader of the board. His approach was and is collaborative. He is a very good, courteous listener. He delegates well, but he is always in charge.
Reverend Carrington has been a great leader for the Board of Trustees of New York Methodist Hospital over all the years that I've known him. He's been a unflappable, conservative, dedicated person throughout his whole tenure as chairman of the board.
John has been a wonderful blessing to me as a new member of the board. He has been a mentor. He is a non-anxious presence, and I can't imagine a better chairperson.
Reverend Carrington is selfless. He will do whatever is necessary to have a task accomplished.
He's a giant. First and foremost, my highest compliment, he's a really nice person. Very soft-spoken. And he and I have a lot in common. He's humble and gracious. I'm humble and gracious. He's soft-spoken. I'm soft-spoken. He's prayed for the hospital on occasion. I've prayed for the hospital on occasion. He is tall. I am tall. So you can see, we do have a lot in common. Seriously, he is a wonderfully sensible man who has had a lifelong, enduring fascination with doing good things.
John may be quiet, but his quiet demeanor belies a spine of steel.
Reverend Carrington's stamp is everywhere in our hospital. Of course, there's the Carrington Pavilion, but there's that caring nature to the atmosphere of the hospital and everybody who works here, and I think that comes not just from our esteemed CEO, Mark Monday, but also from our chairman, Reverend Carrington.
The complexion and the personality of the chairman, Reverend Carrington, has distributed itself well throughout the whole hospital.
In his retirement, he never retired. He continued to serve churches, 6 churches. And even now, at age 90, John is the pastor of St. Mark's United Methodist Church in Harlem, revitalizing not only that church, but the community.
The thing that I think is the really outstanding thing about John is that he understands people. And he understands that the most important thing in any large organization is leadership. He understands that leadership is done through relationships with people by making them stronger and growing them. And he's certainly done that with myself my staff. When you do that, then the hospital grows in the process. It hasn't always been easy for John Methodist, because he goes back many decades and he's seen the hospital flourish as it did in the 60s and 70s and some of the 80s. And then he's seen the hospital be within a whisper of almost getting in major trouble. But at every turn, he recognized that things would get better and it would be done through progress. I remember when I came here, they had a building project that was on the board. Across the street is now the medical office building with Barnes & Noble and Rite Aid. And he said we had to get this done, and we did. He also recognized early on that we would need to have a strong partner. And fortunately at that time, we were able to link up with Dr. David Skinner in New York Hospital and became one of the first hospitals to go in to a network. That has been hugely beneficial to the hospital over the years, and everybody knows, understands it, and sees what a tremendous leadership position that was for John Carrington. He then recognized that we would need to expand our bed capacity, and so now we created and developed the infill building, which is still looking for a name. If there happen to be any major donors out there that might be interested in this particular building, having it named after them, we would welcome it with open arms. And now we're on the verge of doing the massive project known as the Center for Community Health, $445 million, 400,000 square feet, all modern ambulatory care services that will hugely benefit this hospital and this community. John is one of those people, and if I can harken back to those of you that are old enough, to a phrase that we all remember from the 70s and 80s, and that was, when E.F. Hutton talks, can anybody fill in the blank? What was it? People listen. And when John Carrington talks, people listen. John, you set the gold standard, as far as I'm concerned, in being a board chairman. Nobody could ever do a better job than you've done. You've been the guiding light for this hospital. Thank you, John. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And Reverend Carrington is, in my view, largely responsible for the success of this hospital over the last 40 years. On behalf of the New York Methodist Hospital, I congratulate you, Reverend Carrington, on receiving this year's James Monroe Buckley Award for Distinguished Trustee. We are grateful for your service, and to your wife, Virginia, and to your family for allowing us to share in the many, many gifts that you have. We wish you continued success in your leadership in ensuring that the New York Methodist Hospital remains the vital provider of healthcare services that it is, not only through the next decade, but through the next 100 years.
It's an excellent hospital. We've got fine physicians, we've got fine staff people here. I enjoy the connection with it because I know that this was the first hospital that the Methodist ever started. When I first saw the hospital, it has the minor building along with its other older buildings, but it also now has this Carrington Pavilion, which I'm very proud to have my name on it. But here we are, we built another building across on 7th Avenue where we have physicians' offices and places where we provide medical care to a number of people. With the new outpatient building, I never thought I would be around long enough to see a building that's going to serve people in the way that that building will serve people. I would like to express appreciation for kind of friendship that I've had with people who work in this hospital, and not just the physicians, but but nurses and staff people. And I also want to express my appreciation to Mark Mundy for the leadership that he's given during most of the time that I've been here. I want to thank my fellow board members, people who have served with me, some for 5 years, some for 30 years or whatever it may be. I want to thank them for what they do for the hospital and for putting up with me as the chairperson for so many years. I especially want to thank Virginia. Virginia and I have been married for more than 60 years. And, she's been my partner, and she has put up with me, and I've only been able to do the things I do because she permitted it. And I want to thank my girls, my daughters, and my grandchildren, and my sisters for also being a part of my life and for being a part of this event tonight. Thank you. Love you. So I thank all the people who are here, who have come to celebrate the work of the hospital and to give recognition to myself and to my colleague who is being honored along with me. We honor everybody who's here tonight, and for whatever you've done to make the hospital what it is, and for whatever you will do in the future to make it better than it is. God bless you all.